Hello, my name is Alina. I'm a small YouTuber whose niche revolves around motivational talk and character development. While setting up this channel and learning the basics of making videos, I watched some YouTubers from my genre to see what's already out there. Naturally, the algorithm gave me the results of some successful channels with over 500,000 subscribers, some over 1 million. So, what do these creators talk about? The habits of rich people. How I stopped living life for others and started living for yourself. How to reset your life. My minimalism journey. How I stopped eating sugar for a year and this is what happened to my body. How to work smart and get ahead in life. Yes, the titles have become kind of cliche at this point, haven't they? But I get it though, the algorithm makes them easily searchable. But there's also something to say about the comfortable life of the creators themselves, but not all of them. It depends on their starting point. Let's say the creator is someone who has a low-maintenance job, lives independently in a nice country with a lot of disposable income. Bonus points if they're in their teens or early 20s, so they take advantage of their freedom to pursue YouTube and find success early on in life. Yes, of course they worked hard for it, especially before they were monetized, but their period of hardships was relatively short. Life has blessed them with many opportunities that not everyone has. You can tell that their life is relatively comfortable with the way they presented motivational advice. I don't think the overall messages are wrong, I'll explain it later, but the delivery is a bit removed from reality. So let me illustrate 2 videos to illustrate my point. I'm not criticizing these creators themselves or wish that they lived a more difficult life. I'm just analyzing the depth of their message and how their comfortable life affects it. The video makes the case for how to stay sane in a society that's eroded by foreign conflict, emotional isolation, and bad economy. Nathaniel's simple yet poetic answer is to stay absorbed into something you love to drive away cynicism and apathy. In other words, aesthetical life where one pursues art of simple things like hobbies, your surroundings, and intimate relationships. But once you look at his life, you'll realize that he has more means to isolate himself from the troubles of this world. All it takes is to turn off social media and news, and he's back in his beautiful chateau in France, surrounded by beautiful nature, nice possessions, and with contact to kind parents. Someone who is experiencing hardships in real life, not just social media, would not say these things so lightly. Money and having advantages like being born into a loving family do make a difference in how one delivers that message. No, it's not wrong, but it does require more nuance. So if his message is that chasing after more and more comfort makes their lifestyle rather passive, so we need to challenge ourselves with some discomfort in order to grow. For example, not looking up information on a phone, or delayed gratification through hobbies like art and learning a language, and also physical exercise to build endurance. It also means acknowledging that the possessions that you already have are enough. I can say I disagree, but besides fitness, she uses pretty safe examples of discomfort. To be honest, her life is pretty maxed out as far as comfort goes, like living in a good quality private property that she can afford, idyllic climate and nature, slow living, family with no children, etc., etc. Of course, it's easy to say that indulging in comfort beyond that is undesirable. When so many people in the world today are struggling to make it in life, like having a stable job or roof over their head that the bank won't take away, yes, even in Western countries, saying to them that modern life is too comfortable is pretty out of touch with reality. I'm not saying that everyone should suffer to understand life deeply, but the least they can do is acknowledge the existence of those who do. That way, they can describe the world the way it really is. Now, let's challenge what I've said above. So far, it sounds like I'm making an argument for discarding these creators' advice altogether because it seems irrelevant to our uncomfortable lives. But no, I'm gonna say quite the opposite, and here's why. There should be space for motivation, even when we're disadvantaged. Yes, of course we seek people whom we can relate to, but at the end of the day, improving our life and setting achievable goals is the answer. On the one hand, it's comforting to listen to people who are like us in every way, but if they have a passive approach to life, then we're going to be stuck in the same swamp with them. sinking slowly to the bottom. On the other hand, we can motivate ourselves by listening to those who offer solutions, not just describe problems. Even if that book author, influencer, or celebrity, whoever you choose, has some unfair advantages over you that perhaps make it seem like it's easy for them to say what they say, progress and self-discipline will still improve our lives. Just because we're at a different starting point, that doesn't mean we can't move forward at all. People in unfortunate situations might resist betterment because they realize that their circumstances are not as malleable as for others, or it takes more hard work. We praise the idea of freedom and control, but not when it comes to ourselves, and as a result, we become victims of our own circumstances. We wish we had connections to the right people, lived in a different place, had better health, etc., etc. For example, my video on exercise emphasized the power of movement to improve health. People often argue about weight and image, because for those who have a lot of fat, exercise feels like absolute torture. But once they stop comparing their image to others and start caring for their own well-being, not looks, then they will feel greater sense of control and take meaningful steps towards their goal. That means moving at their own pace and eating nourishing food without any extremities. Criticizing own self-image is shame. Challenging harmful habits is healing. Pleasing others is passivity. Aggressive self-assertion is being walled off from human connection. Obsessive productivity is destructive. Fear of productivity is inertia, where you stay in the same place forever. You need to detach from those qualities of yourself that are holding you back. Think of these as a virus, and no matter how deeply it has infected you, it's still an external force that you need to defend yourself against. It's hard, very hard even, but not impossible. So yes, I do watch motivational advice from YouTubers from all walks of life. Sometimes I just need a daily reminder to stay on track. The fact that the creators don't understand my unique hardships doesn't bother me at all. Nathaniel, Drew, and Sophie have plenty of nice inspirational videos, despite the fact that I nitpicked 2 of them. The key here is to adapt and modify according to your own life, but never stop fighting. For me, I set my standards for improvement according to 2 paths, material and virtues. For material goals like making money, productivity, fitness, cleaning, and so on, I move at a steady pace without being hard on myself if I stumble. But for virtues of the mind that affect my relationships like kindness, patience, empathy, and detachment, I try to be more principled. Yes, I still value my worth, have time for self-care, and don't let myself be used. But I understand that love is something that is reciprocal and shared. The YouTubers that I listen to in this area are also highly principled, and their relationships show it. As an aspiring YouTuber myself, I realize that I'm not relatable to everyone. A few aspects of my life are low life, hello basement, but in others I have a few unfair advantages. I'm not here to compete for the least comfortable life. I just want to be the kind of person who understands the challenges that people face, but also highlights the need to grow in spite of these challenges. I simply present food for thought. You're the one in control of your own life, not me. My intention is to present a more nuanced version of happiness for ordinary people with challenging relevant to the modern world. I do that because I care about others' well-being, but ultimately it's up to them to make their own choices. If fate allows, maybe one day I'll be the one living a more comfortable life thanks to income from YouTube. But I don't know, I'm just speculating. Will I still be relatable to you, my audience, once I obtain more comforts like a separate home or a balanced work schedule that I can control? I don't know. What I can say is that I have no choice but to strive towards creating a more comfortable life for my family. It's my survival mechanism, that's all. But I have experience of growing spiritually in a relatively uncomfortable environment, and will continue to understand people who are still finding their way. I'll never forget my experience from right now, or pretend to think that this reality doesn't exist. And that's all I have to say. Stay strong, stay motivated, and value your life. Take care, and bye-bye.